Welcome to Microsoft Excel. Today we will discuss about macro in Excel. So first of all we have to know what is macro. An Excel macro is an action or a set of actions that can be recorded, named, saved and executed as many times as required and whenever desired. By using macros, we are able to automate repetitive tasks associated with data manipulation and data reporting that must be accomplished repeatedly. So now in simple words I will say that a macro is nothing but a recording tool. By the use of macro we can record an action that can be executed once we require this. For example, we have to do a calculation in Excel and we have to do this calculation again and again. So what can we do is that we can record this action within macro and then we can run the macro whenever we require the function. In other words, we can say that macro is a piece of code and macros are written in a programming language that is called VBA. The full form of VBA is Visual Basic for Application. So the way we can use the macro are of two types. That is, one, we can use macro by using the options available that we can find under View tab or under Developer tab. In both the tabs we find the macro option. There we can find the macro recording option where we can record a macro. In other way we have, that is, we can write a short piece of code, and for this we require an editor. So we will see what a macro editor is, but before that we will see that in what cases macro is needed or macro is necessary. So whenever you have repetitive work to do, then we can use macro. Number one. Number two is, if we want to develop a new formula, then we can use macro, or if we have some complex tasks to do, then also we can use macro. So in these three cases we can use macro. So macro is a very important tool in Excel. Now we will practically see how macro is used in Excel, how we can automate an action by recording that action within macro and run it whenever it is required. So to show macro practically, I will take you to a short database. This is a short database. Here what we will do is that we will copy that header and a row just below the database. Now what I am doing is that I am deleting the data that is there in the row. Now I will create a shape. Going to Insert tab, going to Shape. Now I am taking rounded rectangle. Now I am just trying to create a button. Here I am writing filter, and in this one we are writing reset. Now we are modifying it. Doing center alignment, doing it bold. Now applying this formatting to this one. Now what I will do is that I will record a macro. So to go to macro we have to visit View tab or Developer tab. In both the tabs macro option is there. If we go to View tab, you can see this is macros option. If we go there, you can see View macro, Record macro. So if you want to see which macros have been already created, then you have to visit View macro. If you go there, no macro is there, so no macro has been applied to that datasheet. So now I am clicking on record macro. You can do so by going to developer tab as well. If I click on developer tab, you can have this option record macro. You can record macro from here also. So click on record macro. Now you have to give a name to it. Suppose for filtering I am giving FF in caps. Now there is an option of shortcut key. You can assign a shortcut key to run the macro. I am giving it as Control A. Then I am clicking on OK. Now the macro recording has been started. Now what I will do is that I will select a cell within the database. You can select any of the cell within the database. Now go to data tab, and here you can see advanced option under sort and filter group. So I am clicking onto it, and here you can see list range and criteria range. Within list range, this database has been already selected, and within criteria range we have to select this one, the header and the blank cell. But before doing that, you can see that we haven't put any criteria. So if I record this action, then when I will run that macro, then no data will be there. So we have to modify it. Just cancel it for once, give a data to it, give a criteria to it. Suppose I am giving greater than 150. So this is the criteria, and the gender should be male. So I am giving two criteria. Now again I am going to view tab to see which macro has been recorded. This one FF, so we will delete it once. Now we will record a macro once again. So we have not stopped yet. Okay, now it has been stopped. Now click on record macro, give a name to it, give a shortcut key. This is optional, you may not give the shortcut key. Now the recording has been started. Now click within the database and go to data tab, and then advanced. You can see list range has been selected and criteria range is also selected. Now we have to click on OK. Now you can see it has been filtered. So this action has been recorded. Now we will have to stop that recording. You can go to developer tab and you can click on stop recording. So the recording has been done. Now what I will do is that now I will create another macro, or we will record another macro. So click on record macro, give another name. We are giving RR and giving a shortcut key for this, that is B, Control B. Now OK. Now what I will do is that I will go to data tab and I will clear that filtered data. So you can see under sort and filter clear option is there. So click onto it. So filter has been cleared. Now we will have to clear the criteria that has been supplied. So we are deleting this one and clicking any other cell. Then we are stopping the recording. Stop recording. So we have two actions recorded. One is under which we have filtered it, and in another recording we have cleared it, cleared the filter and also the criteria. Now what I will do is that I will right click onto this one, and there we can find assign macro, that you can see assign macro. If you click onto it, you will get the list of macros that has been created. So I created FF for filtering, so I am clicking this one, selecting this one and clicking on OK. And again for reset, assigning macro. For resetting we have created RR, so selecting this one and pressing OK. Now it is good to go. Now if you give, for example, one criteria, that is F, if you click on filter, then you can see it is showing all the female employees. If you want to reset it, click on to reset. You can see it has been resetted. It has been reset. So you can give more than one criteria, like the date of payment. I can write like greater than 1/1/2022. Now if I give the gender as male and greater than 140, so I have supplied 3 criteria. Now if I click on filter, you can see only one person is there that is fulfilling all the criteria. It is greater than 1 January 2022, and its gender is male, and its sale is also greater than 140. Now if I click on reset, you can see the data has been reset. So this is the way we can record an action within macro and run the macro whenever it is required. We had also assigned shortcut key. So the shortcut key can also be used to run the macro. I am showing this. Suppose it is greater than 150. Now if I click Control A, that has been assigned for filtering. Control A, that you can see all the cells are appearing that are greater than 150. And for reset we assign Control B. If I press Control B, that you can see it has been reset. So the shortcut key are also being used to run the macros. So 2 ways are there. You can create a button like this and assign macro, and also you can assign a shortcut key which you can press to run the macro. Another way is that if you write like F, and if you go to developer or view tab, then if you click on view macro, there you can see FF and RR, two macros are there, and FF is selected. If you click on run, it will run. That you can see it has been filtered. If you want to run the RR macro, then select the RR, and if you click on run, you can see data has been reset. So again I am saying macro is a recording tool in which we can record an action. In other words, we can say that we can automate an action by using macro. Now I will show the way of writing macro code. For this we require macro editor. So to use the macro editor, we have to, I am taking a new sheet, we have to click Ctrl F11. If we do so, we can see that this is the macro editor. If you want to write something, you have to use insert, then you can click on module, or you can click up to here, module 1, in which 2 macros had been created, that is FF and RR. So we created it just selecting the options from there in Excel interface, but we can see the code has been automatically created. Now once we select and delete it, we can see, if we go to view tab, now we can see no macro is there because we had deleted it from the editor. So this is module 1 that had been already created. So this is the macro editor where we can write a short piece of code. For example, I am writing a short piece of code, like we have to write sub color cell, then I am entering it. You can see it has appeared like a function. Now we have to write active cell dot interior dot color equal to VB red. Now you can see we have written active cell dot interior dot color equal to VB red. That means whichever cell is selected, the color of that cell will be red. So after writing the code, if you want to run it, simply go to run tab, and here we have run option. Click onto it and go to Excel file. There you can see this was the active cell that has been colored with red. Now as we have written the code, macro has been created. So if you select this cell and run the macro by going to view, you can see color cell macro has been created. If you want to run that, click on run. Now you can see it is executing, it is making the color. Now again if you run this, see this, it is happening. If you want to change that color, go to the editor, you can change it to green. Then if you go there and run the macro once again, now you can see it is appearing in green. So in this way we can write a short piece of code. Now I am writing another code. I am deleting this one. Now I am writing first name. Now I am writing message box. We have written message box, then within inverted comma we have written computer. If you go to the Excel interface and going to view tab, if we run the macro, that is first name, if we run it, there you can see computer, the word computer is appearing in message. If you click on OK, then it will go away. Again if you write message box, then if you want to write a number, like I have written 2500, and go to Excel interface and run that macro, you can see it is appearing computer. If you click on OK, then it will show the number as it is showing. If you click on OK, it will go away. So whatever you write under message box, it will appear one by one. Now I will show how to write a value. Again I am writing sub show value. Now I am writing active cell dot value equal to, if we want to write a code and a text, we have to write it within double inverted comma. If we run the macro, so you can see India has been written. If you want to show a value, then you have to just put the value. You don't have to give the double inverted comma. Like I am writing 450. If you run it, there you can see the value is showing. You can also specify a cell address, like this way. I am writing G within third bracket G5 dot value, G5 dot value equal to 150. So within G5 cell 150 value will be there. Once we run the macro, you can see within G5 the value 150 is there. If we want to put a value across the cells, see this G5 is to G10. I want to write like India. So we can see from G5 to G10 we have written India. If we go to macro interface and run the macro, you can see from G5 to G10 India has been written. Also we can specify a cell reference by giving the cell reference properly, like we can do so by using cells. Suppose I am writing 5, 2. 5 is the row number and 2 is the column number. Now I am closing the bracket dot value equal to, I am writing Mumbai. Now you can see this is the row number 5 and column number 2. If we run the macro, you can see row number 5 and column number 1, 2. So in row number 5 and column number 2, this value Mumbai has been appeared. Now we can write range. Suppose going to the macro editor, I am writing range, then bracket open, then within double inverted comma A5, for example, closing the bracket dot value equal to India. I am writing range. Now you can see if we run the macro, India is appearing in this one because we have given the cell reference as A5. So within A5 India is written. Now how will write a range? Here you can write like this: A5 is to A10. A5 is to A10. I have written a range. Now if we run the macro, you can see from A5 to A10 it has been written. Now I will show how to copy this to another cell range. Now I will show you that. So to do so, we will take another macro, sub copy cells. Now you can see it is being another macro. Now what I will do is that I will copy into C5 to C10. So for this we will write range then C5 is to C10, then closing the bracket equal to, again we will write range and then what we had written A5, sorry, you have to give double inverted comma, A5 is to A10. I will close the value, close the double inverted comma, now dot value. Now you can see that the value of range A5 to A10 will be assigned into C5 to C10. If we go to macro interface and if we run the macro, wherever your cursor may be, if you run that macro show value, sorry, copy cells, if you run it, then you can see the content of A5 to A10 has been copied to C5 to C10. So in this way we can record a macro. So again I am summarizing, macro is nothing but a recording tool. Within macro, if we want to automate an action, if we want the action to be executed automatically, then we can use a macro. We can record an action within macro so that whenever the action is required, we can run the macro and the action is performed. So in two ways we can create a macro. That means we can use view or developer tab to record the macro, or we can write a short piece of code in macro editor. That is, the shortcut key to go to macro editor is alt F11. If you go to developer tab, if you click on Visual Basic, then also it will take you to the Excel macro editor. So that's all from the macro part. I think the macro is quite clear. So thank you so much.